Alrighty, today I'm going to try to cover assembling a lock ring wheel. The lock ring wheel in question goes to this Metro van, this International Harvester, but it applies to pretty much every lock ring wheel. So what I'll be putting on is I'm actually putting on a radial tire. So I have a radial tire tube. I have a flap there, that's what that floppy thing is. And of course I have the rim, and then the lock ring I can go fetch that. But so I sandblasted the rim, painted it up so it's ready to go. I have I've already ripped off the tire. That's a whole other story that's in the background, those old tires over there. But so ready to assemble. I have talc. You should have a remote air chuck, and you'll want to have some ratchet straps to hold the wheel so that if something does go awry, it doesn't blow up. I've never had that happen, but apparently it's a risk, so there you go. So on the tubes, it's a TR75 for these international trucks, just because of the way the rim is constructed. It comes out and has to bend so that you can put air into it. Once it's assembled, you'll see that's why. One of the questions that crossed my mind when I was doing this was on these little plates. I'm like, all the tubes come with these plates, and what these are for is these are for while you're assembling, or if you drive like with low tire pressures to keep things from slipping. So if you're driving like a normal constantly inflated wheel, these aren't necessary to have. So I'm just taking them off. But if you're assembling and you want to hold your tube in place, you can put the tube in, and then this locks over the rim, and then with a nut you can hold it down, and that locks the inner tube stem to the rim so that you don't have any movement or vibration or anything like that. So that's kind of a handy thing to have. But yeah, for me, I don't need these. On the internet, all they showed was motorcycle and bicycles, where they have just a straight tube and then it has a couple nuts. And for a tube like that, they show you how the nuts go, one on the outside, one on the inside, or in some cases they're both nuts on the outside. But I didn't see anything for truck tires, so I wanted to make sure I talked about that. But normally, you really don't need to have these at all, those plates and nuts when you're locked on. So yeah, don't really need them. All right, so installing the tire. One of the first things I'm going to do is I need to put a little bit of air in the tube just to fill it out, and then I'll put it in the tire with a little bit of talc on it. The talc helps things to seat. Bringing it around a little bit, not too much, just enough to give it a little bit of shape, because it has to be able to fit in there. And then a little bit of talc on here so we'll get some dust. Okay, there, maybe I'll just do that over here. Get some of the talc. I guess if you had a shaker it would help, but I just put it on there however it comes. You know what I mean? I don't do anything right, but there it is. So just a little bit to keep it so that it moves around on there. So is that enough or is that too much? I don't know. But there it is. Okay, so we get a talced up tube and just work it into the tire. Fairly straightforward. Alright. So now I will put a little bit of air to help round it out, and then I'll put the flap in. But first I'll put a little bit of air to help fill it out. All right, so get that in there like so. This is an old flap, but flaps are pretty solid, right? So, all right, they usually say inside or outside towards tube, towards rim, but all right. So putting the flap in. This is generally a little bit of a challenge, but not too bad. We can get that in there on the edges. Work it around. Little flap. Here we go. And that flap makes your life a little bit easier too, because it helps to hold the tube in place somewhat. I'm gonna make sure we keep that out there like that. There we go. Keep the flap, flap, flap. They call him the flapper. Okay, get in there, you. Behave yourself. What are you doing? See it wrinkling? Don't wrinkle. That's not against. There we go. You always say things are easy, and then they turn into a little bit of funkiness here. But okay, there we go. Look at that. All right, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the flap's all the way around there, nicely done, and we're pretty much ready to put that on the tire. Now, one of the things on these international rims, which I haven't had problems with other split rims, is with these valve stems and the angle of approach in the rim hole. I've had to get a wrench and just put a little bit more bend in it, put some curve. We'll see if it needs it or not. So, here we go. Tire with flap. Where's the inner tube holes over here on this side? Let's see here. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge, probably. Yep, a little bit, because that's the way I'm doing this here. That's going to be floppy. I may have to put that down on the ground. Let's see. Okay. I'll probably have to put it on the ground because it's going to be floppy there, and I need it to hold still. Okay, so there we go. Now, they're getting the tire tube stem is that's helping me to hold in place. Okay, that's is it gonna work? Same problem. What I got is the valve stem, the metal valve stem, is that I've got to bend it to get into that hole with this particular tire. So I'll go get a couple wrenches. I'll have to bend this one, had to bend the other one that I did previously. So I shall return, as MacArthur would say. Okay, so this is kind of, I'm just showing how I did this because I hold the camera. I've only got one hand, but take these wrenches and I can put a little bit of a bend in the valve stem to help it go through the hole. So that's what I've had to do on the other one, and I think what I have to do on this one. So comes out okay. A little bit of bend. I'll show you. I did one already over here that has the bent valve stem, and you don't really see much of a bend there, but it's got the bend in it. I'm also using a little bit of this lubricant. I'm just going to put a little bit on the beads to help things slide together. So hopefully we can get this together with a little bit of help. All right, so let's try it again. The valve stem goes pointing upwards, so we've got to go down with this first. A little bit. And so we're going to work the valve stem. The valve stem is by far the hardest part of this whole job. Got it started. Okay, now get the last little bit. It's all valve stem. All of the problem with this. Okay, just to show you, starting to get the valve stem to come up through here. Got to keep the flap in and get the, there it is. See the valve stem's coming right in. There it is. So now it's just laying it down. Getting the lock ring on. Getting the tire to go on. There it is. Hey, I've got the lock ring area exposed right there. Lock ring. It's definitely easier keeping the tire down where it needs to be. I try not to do too many edited videos because sometimes people will make things look like super easy, or they won't show you the difficulties with certain parts of it, but I try to show anyways. Alright, I'm going to need a, last time I used a little bit of a pry bar, I remember, to get this, just to spread it, to help it go on, but it's a matter of just pushing this rim around and engaging the lock ring. Alrighty, so we got the tire sitting on the rim, and we got the valve stem all in there, and now the next step is to install the lock ring. So I have a tool that helps me compress the tire a little bit. I found that it helps quite a lot. It's actually it's an O-ring installer for big trucks, but I use it on these rigs all the time. And the way that it works, this is not a very expensive tool, is you basically compress the tire to push it down. That's one of the biggest problems I have personally with getting these tires together, is being able to push the tire down. So I got the ring, I can set it on here. The ring, and all you have to do, right, is to get the ring to lock in around that rim, which I guess if you had good arm strength or good hands or whatever, you could probably do it. Well, I'm kind of a noodle arm, so what I find is that I could use a little bit of help sometimes. So I got myself this tool and get the ring on as tight as I can here. And there's just a little bit further that I needed to go, and it just didn't want to quite do it. So I can compress that on there and do that. Well, this one's kind of going on not too bad. Let's try it with the, I've got a spoon. See, it's all smooth edges. This is a tire spoon. I don't think this is going to go, but you never know. Sometimes things go for you. And, well, my tab's not big enough, so that isn't going to work. So let's try out this guy. This is a little bit bigger. This will work on a little bit smaller tab. I don't think this is going to work to do what we need to do, but sometimes it might. Let's see. We just need them to go. This needs to push down there a little bit. So what I've got back to my tool, and the reason that I use it every time I think I can do something, this is going to compress my tire a little bit so the tire's not affecting it. I don't have enough strength to overcome even fairly simple resistance, so put this right on here. I can scrunch this tire down just enough. There, see, there she goes. Just a little bit is all that it's going to take to get my ring on there. I just don't quite have enough hand strength, but I'm so close to it. I can see it here. Maybe this screwdriver will do it. I'm too close. Basically, you just got to pry the ring over the outside of the rim, and she'll come right in. So there it is. Just a little bit of help from this tire tool and it's on there. And I got the ring on there. Once that ring's on there, it's just a matter of slowly inflating that tire. And she'll come right up. Let me get my air chuck. I've got my air chuck here. They always tell you to use a clamp-on style with a remote, but mine's broken. So I'm just going to take this real easy. I see my rings on there in pretty good shape. Locked all the way around. It's just a matter of throwing a little air at it now. There's air going in. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but just a little bit at a time. Yeah, see, I've got still a long way to go. Tire is still super squishy. Alright, now I think I don't have much in it. Maybe still 0. Yeah, I've got about 5 in it. I'll just stop and check and make sure that she's going up. I'm going to take this tool out of there now, my tire squincher. Everybody looks like they're going in the way they're supposed to. Everybody's behaving themselves. There's lots of people that only do these in a cage, but you know, I've been doing these enough. I've done them in fields. I've done them alongside the road. But there it is. Always listening for it, any creaking and groaning or carrying on. That's about 20 pounds in there right now, so it's not enough, but we'll let it set and make sure she's going to behave. But yeah, that's the lock ring tire on there anyway, so not too bad. Use my tool in case you ever want to find it. Apparently it's got it right off Amazon. Ringmaster. It says O-ring installer by Esco. I find that to be so useful. I use it on all these tires, all these wheels. I've assembled just today. This is my 3rd one that I've done. Did these 2 big truck wheels. Use this. Without this tool, I don't have enough arm strength to push those rings on there. With this tool, I can put them right on fairly simple. So they come right around. So did this one a couple days ago. And now this one, and she's pretty well done. I like to just come up slowly, but right now we're at about 25 pounds. I'll probably come up to 35 eventually, but we'll let it set, make sure that everybody's going to be happy. And that's it. That's the lock ring wheel on.